My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC picks and DraftKings lineups run by professional fighters and MMA insiders. Every week, I join Nick Newell, professional fighter, professional model, and ESPN Top 10 guest, along with Dan Kramer, UFC fighter, Bellator fighter, Ultimate Fighter alumni, and Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. And we break down every single fight, the betting odds, the DraftKings picks, and we set you up for success. Next up at UFC Fight Night, Edwards versus Muhammad, we have Jonathan Martinez versus Davey Grant in what the odds makers are saying is a very lopsided fight. So, Nick, I'll go to you first. Do you think this fight is this lopsided, and how do you think it goes?
Man, it's tough because you look at who they fought and who they beaten, and I mean, Davey Grant is a good fighter. He's lost a few times. Like, he got blown out by Manny Bermudez and Chris Holsworth, who are both very good grapplers that were able to actually drop him and choke him out. But then he has a win over Chito Vera, who's an absolute beast. And he's been a little inconsistent. He knocked out Martin Day, who's a very good striker. And he has a win. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. But Jonathan Martinez lately has just looked so amazing. He had his first UFC debut. He fought Andre Sukumtau, and he looked a little flat. Andre really put it on him. He looked a little nervous to be in the UFC. He looked a little out of it, almost like he didn't belong. And I remember watching that and being like, oh man, this guy was really not ready for the show, because he lost pretty convincingly in that fight. And then he just went out there and he beat this guy, he beat that guy. He fought Newell in a fight that many people thought he won. I thought he was going to get out wrestled by Saenz. I was wrong. I thought Thomas Almeida was going to beat him. I was wrong. He looked fantastic. Thomas Almeida is a great fighter. Even though he's been a little inconsistent, he's taken time off. He's coming off a long layoff. That's a big win. I do think 9,300 is a lot to ask. I don't think that it's that big of a blowout. I think Davey Grant is a well-rounded fighter. Do I think Martinez will score me a lot of points? Yes. Right now, I have him in my lineup. I might move some things around once they give the odds for the Harpquast fight and shift some things around. But I do have him in my lineup because I have some lower value guys that I think can score me some points. So, yes, right now I have Martinez in my lineup because I think that he can get it done with his striking and his counter wrestling.
Yeah, and it is a tricky fight. These odds are definitely farther apart than they should be. Davey Grant's a good fighter. I have him in my DraftKings lineup right now, but that was mostly because at $6,900, that frees up a lot of money for some other people, and I don't see him getting finished. I hope he wins. I think he has the ability to win. I think he's very tough. He's coming off a really nice KO win. And he won't get stopped. So at $6,900, somebody I know is not going to get stopped. Somebody I know has fought, some very high level guys and either won or done really well. At that price, I couldn't pass it up. Jonathan Martinez has very good striking. I imagine he's going to beat up the legs of Davey Grant. I imagine that's what he's going to do, which would be a problem. But $9,300 is a ton of money, and I'm not positive that he's going to blow right through this guy. So it's a tricky one to pick. But at $6,900, I'm going with Davey Grant. But if you told me, Angelo, who wins this fight, you have to tell me who wins this fight. I think Jonathan Martinez wins the fight, but I think I'm going to keep Davey Grant in my DraftKings lineup because he can win. And at $6,900, I think there's more upside than downside with somebody that durable. So, Dan, what are your thoughts on that? Both my DraftKings pick and my fight pick.
I mean, I don't know how to put this nicely. I mean, I agree with a couple of things you said, but overall, I mean, I disagree with the pick. And yeah, I mean, this is the first fight where I watched tape on both guys. I was like, Jonathan Martinez is 100% going on my lineup. This guy looks like a legit contender. He's getting better every time. And I think he's going to piece up a very tough Davey Grant, but I think he's going to piece him up to the point where we're going to have to find out, unfortunately, how tough Davey Grant is, because if he doesn't go away, he's going to look like a battered person at the end of this fight. And I think the chances are that he will more likely get put away in the later rounds because he is tough. But just breaking down tape on both of them, Davey Grant, he's on a 2-fight win streak. He beat Martin Day his last fight, who's also a good striker. He caught him in the third round with a big shot. He's got a split decision over Gregory Popoff. His last loss was to Manny Bermudez. So, he's been in there. He's hung tight against some tough fighters. The fight against Day, he took on, not too short notice, but 5 weeks notice. So his striking looks, this is an example, I think, of a fighter who's tough and pretty good versus a guy who is next level and could potentially be a contender. As far as styles go, Davey Grant, I think he's got a lot of power. He throws big bombs, but he leaves himself very open when he throws his punches and exchanges. He throws a lot of multi-punch combinations, finishes with hooks. The first fight against Day, he got dropped right in the beginning. But then later on in the fight where they kept exchanging, he ended up landing that big hook in the third round and getting the finish. And that third round, they were both just banging and trading with each other. Unfortunately, I don't think in this fight, Jonathan Martinez is going to allow it to become that sort of fight. I think he's too skilled, too smooth, too good everywhere. This is his 7th UFC fight. He's on a 2-fight win streak. Nick already said it. His last loss was to Newell. It was a split decision. A lot of people say he won. But the thing here is this kid just looks like he's getting better every time. He's fluid. He's loose. He's got really good takedown defense from what I saw in some of his other fights. Beat Thomas Almeida. He beat Frankie Saenz, which I actually looked at the Saenz fight as kind of like, all right, let's see how he does against a pretty tough wrestler. And he just made him look bad. His takedown defense looks solid, good hip reflexes. He did get taken down, a couple times. He got right back up using the cage, defended a couple body locks. So I think this is going to be a one-sided affair. Davey Grant could always land a wild, unorthodox haymaker, but I think all in all, Martinez is going to pick him apart throughout the fight and either win a unanimous decision with a ton of points or finish him late in the fight after a one-sided beating.
Yeah. All right. So we agree on our pick because I think Jonathan Martinez wins. We just disagree on how far apart these two guys are.
Yeah.
So,
I think Martinez is on a different level. So
Jacob, you were nodding pretty furiously.
You guys aren't disagreeing, Angelo. You're just flat wrong. Let's do it about that. Jonathan Martinez is a top 10 guy in that division. I don't think he's ranked yet, but talent-wise, he's a top 10 guy in that division. He is incredible, and he's got wild knees too. And this comes down to Davey Grant has 8 submission wins. He wants this fight on the ground, but he is a jiu-jitsu guy, not a wrestler. He will not take Jonathan Martinez down. And Jonathan Martinez, I wouldn't be surprised if he caught him with a knee on one of those terrible entries. So Jonathan Martinez takes this pretty easily. Dan nailed it. He has the ultimate analysis. I'll just kind of clean it up for him. $9,300 is in my lineup, and I'll take that 320.
All right. Well, all 4 of us picking Jonathan Martinez to win. One of us going with the underdog in their lineup. But we'll do our final DraftKings lineups after this. Before you go, check out the description below. In there, we have links to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, and more importantly, to our DraftKings League. Check out the league, join the league, participate in the contests, and as we get going and as you start winning, we're going to start handing out gift cards and participating and doing things like that. So check those out. Every week, there are drops on every fight card. So make sure you check out this channel and our social media. on Saturday before the fights start so that you have our most updated lineups and picks.